Hi everyone, this is called QA meeting, and today is May 23rd, 2019, and we have two items on the agenda. If there are anything else, we can add them when we have time. First, I would like to go through the test scope for 2.0. Let me just bring it up. So on our wiki page, system test page, we have system test plans, and under that we have SEBA, which is 2.0, and I updated this release plan with few scenarios, and these are the ones that we are targeting to automate them and test them as part of 2.0 release. And if anybody has any questions or any, I'll go through these one by one, but if there are anything else, we can add or remove, discuss, add or remove accordingly based on the scope that we want to prioritize accordingly for 2.0. So the first one, and there are, if you look at the table here, we have the prioritized one, and based on priority like high, medium, and low. So mostly what QA would target is we try to finish everything and test for the release the high prioritized items first, and then if we have time, then we target the low, medium, and then followed by the low ones. So for this release, the main testing that we are targeting is for the bandwidth profiles and the technological profiles. So we have created various test scenarios in order to incorporate them. So the first one on the list talks about the bandwidth profiles. So we have what we are doing is right now this task is in progress. So we are targeting both on pod and as well as SIBA in a box. We existing profile sorry existing test cases, we have already changed them to use the default bandwidths, and started creating new bandwidth profiles to create more scenarios for the existing ONUs that we have. And using these profiles, we are verifying various activities that happen as part of the provisioning of the subscriber, the flows, and and then we perform a final authentication DHCP ping for those bandwidth profiles related subscribers. This is a straightforward scenario, but the data plane part of the testing, I will talk about it later, because currently these tests we are just targeting at the NEM layer, and just doing a plain ping from end to end on the pod currently. And the second item on the list is talking about the technological profiles, and I put a question mark here because we ideally, when we right now, when we add a technology profile in the NEM, there is no way yet to successfully validate whether the ones that are used, whatever we have provisioned as part of the NEM, this is what we are using with the subscriber, because that part is not there yet. So I'm still waiting for TO and the brigade team to give me more details on it. But we just started with the default technology profile, and we just started with testing using one TCON and one jump port. But later we will increase the number of jump ports as well, and then test the data plane traffic accordingly. So there is some details to be filled yet in that place. And there is another scenario. The next one talks about admin enable disable. So we have seen various issues before, in terms of whenever the ONU goes to disable and then comes back to enable state, the authentication doesn't go through. So earlier these test cases were existed before, but they were testing only like once, like enable disable. But now this test case validates multiple times of disable and enable, and then try to authenticate, and then test further combinations later. And this particular test case is also targeting the change of the ONU, I mean, making the admin enable and disable through the NEM. So earlier we were indirectly testing this behavior by either making the ONU in the whitelist to disappear, and then or the ONU changing it to a wrong location, that would automatically trigger to admin disable. So that was indirectly tested, but this is like a straightforward um, admin disable and enable directly on the ONU from the NEM. So this test case is testing that behavior, and is this is also in progress, and still needs to be validated. We are still testing in progress. And the next one talks about testing the multiple ONUs. Until now, all the functional scenarios we have covered are using only, each scenario is based on one ONU. But now we are increasing it to two or more. Right now, we just started with two ONUs. So we when with two ONUs on the same OLT, we will test the same combinations with having the S tag, having similar S tag, and also a different S tag for these two ONUs, and then we try to validate the behaviors accordingly. So we have seen some issues with having multiple ONUs. Like, let's say when one ONU has been authenticated and the subscriber is able to ping, and then as soon as we authenticate a different ONU on the same S tag, then the older ONU doesn't the older subscriber on the first ONU doesn't ping anymore. So those scenarios have been covered, and we are extending these test cases further to cover other scenarios where we are removing the subscriber. We are removing the ONU from the whitelist, and then having these original functional scenarios in a combination of these multiple ONUs. So that is in progress. So we will try to cover, there could be like n number of combinations here, I mean multiple combinations here, but currently the whatever issues that we have found you during manual testing, so those are the tests that we are targeting. But later, if we have more time, then going to add more scenarios and test accordingly. And the next item on the list talks about the cross connect I mean cross connect provisioning, and this is very low, and we don't plan to cover it yet. I mean, having the BNG mapping to any right now. Right now, we are using that, but we can have multiple SVLANs to the BNG. But we are not targeting anything yet right now in this release. That's why I put it low, so we can carry forward it to the next release. And the next one talks about data plane scenario failure scenarios, and this has been on the list from 1.0. And I put a note there. These are the scenarios where we cannot automate them yet, because we don't have a way to automate these fiber cuts. Once the lab has a provision of doing these, then we will be able to automate them successfully. Until then, we will target validating these scenarios, especially for 2.0 manually, by someone going to the lab and then helping us do these scenarios, and then we validate them here. And then we have the control plane scenarios, failure scenarios, and this is again targeted as low priority. These are like various pick up a container and try to reboot it, and then make sure that the functional scenario still function fine. This could be a very simple test, but based on the priority, we just put it low. But after I go through the list, if anybody thinks that we should change these priorities and adjust them accordingly, then we can discuss about them. And the upgrade test, we have been talking about this for a while. We already have with this at the model level. And this particular item here is talking about at a system level, where we are upgrading various charts and services. And then after that, we validate that the functional scenarios are working fine at a pod level. And there are some cross connect validations, specific validations that was picked up from older workflow from 1.0. And these are some assertions that we just have to add them as part of the excuse me part of the test cases. Some of them have been already added as part of SIAB, and I should have put it as in progress, because this is also in progress as part of implementing these cross connect validations after the subscriber is provisioned on the pod as well. And the last two items on this test plan includes the data plane traffic simulation scenarios, and trying to automate this data plane traffics. Either use iperf or any other similar tool that helps us automating these data plane traffics for testing bandwidth limitations, and also for testing with applying the technological profiles. And we put them as medium, at least for the bandwidth limitations. We will try to make it possible for automation. And also, I've been trying to reach this parent group, which earlier they had mentioned that they would be interested in testing SIBA. They have some testing tools where they simulate these traffic generations for even the prioritized based traffic and also the bandwidth limitations. And we had used the same tools as part of 5.0 testing. And I'm trying to reach out to them again if they could help us the same thing in testing the 2.0 as well. So this we will target towards the end of the release, probably like first week of June. Hopefully we can get these STC or the Spirent Test Center tools from these people. And in the meanwhile, we will also try to automate them. Uh, and this is the list. So these are the priorities. If there is any question, or if there are any things that we want to add or change the priorities, please let us know. Okay, maybe that then this I feel that this should be fine for us to proceed with the testing. And
This
yeah,
is Sriju here.
yes, you, yeah.
So there is no test. There are no test cases on the ISSU, so that's also part of the 2.0 release, right?
Yeah, ISSU is part of these upgrade tests.
Upgrade test. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And just
yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
please go ahead.
Yeah, no, no, sorry, Sri, you go ahead, because I was about to ask you about the testing that you have done as part of the brigade. Yeah, please go
Yeah,
ahead with your question.
yeah. And so, so to what extent the new the telecom workflows are going to be involved in 2.0?
For that question, I think Andy would be the better person to answer how much. But we are not targeting to test it,
Okay.
because they mentioned that it is low priority.
Okay.
We have been told that, but Andy can update on it. Andy, do you have any?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
No, I was asking like to what extent the telecom workflows will be implemented in 2.0. Like it might impact test cases where they need multiple UNI ports, stuff like that.
I think the status of Turk Telecom workflow being included in 2.0 is still not clear. Um, yeah, I think there's some chance that it will be included, but it sounds like maybe not.
Okay. And Sujitra, when we were testing tech profile, we also had the scenarios where, so normally when you do the tech profile testing, it should match the profile ID in the Volta ATC cluster. So what happens if there is no match? It should load the default profiles and stuff like that. So
Okay.
maybe such test cases also, maybe you can add such a variation also in that.
Oh, okay. And then may I ask, Riju, I know that you were involved as part of this testing in the brigade.
Yeah.
For these test cases, let me open the document that you had sent me. So
Yeah.
are these all the tests as part of the brigade?
No, this is not the complete test as part of the brigade.
Okay.
So I was updating this sheet, and these are the test cases which I have performed. And there might be other. I know there are other tests which Radisys and also uh, I think Gamse's group has performed,
Okay.
but yeah, that would have made this document a lot cumbersome. So I just included specifically how to test the band, how to configure and test the bandwidth profile using iPerf.
Okay. And then are these tests automated?
No, no, no.
Okay. So these were like manually tested after.
These are manual test cases. Yes.
Hmm. Okay. And you have also tested with multiple gem ports, or it's
Not yet.
only.
Not yet. Not yet. I have not done that. So this is I have tested only the bandwidth profile. So
Hmm.
I think Radisys has done test with the multiple gem port and the tech profile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any access to those reports?
No.
All
Maybe
right.
we can send a request to Girish
Hmm.
from Radisys. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll try to reach the brigade people to see if
Yeah.
there are any automated test cases. I thought that we don't want to duplicate the efforts of automating again.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. I can tell that as part of the brigade, there was no scripting effort. So
okay.
most of the things were manual testing and
All right. All right. Thanks, Viju.
And if you have a test tool like a Spirent Test Center, it will be a lot easier because say testing bandwidth profile is quite easy. But when you're trying to do the technology profile, you need to send packets to map. So normally, like it's 8 priorities. So to each two of the priority bits, we map it to one of the jump ports. So you need to simulate traffic uh, with all these types of VLAN tags and priority in the VLAN tags. Without like a test tool, so normally what we would have done is like create different containers and using the tap interfaces and assign the VLAN tags and the priority to it so that it all comes out of a single NIC card. So it is a little bit more complex. But if you have something like a test center, it will be very easy to do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have
So if
used
you
that.
go into the
Mhm.
same document, if you go into the top section, there is a description of how that can be done.
Uh,
If you go on the top, the all the way to the top,
okay.
yeah, go to the RG setup section.
RG.
Come
This
down, come down, come
this
down.
one, right?
Yeah, RG setup. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So here, if you see the advanced RG configuration, so that's where you can set up different tap interfaces and assign different priorities for each of the VLANs. So
Okay.
it has the commands on how to do it. So
Okay.
basically, you create the next bridge and attach multiple interfaces to it, and also your NIC card to it. And each of these multiple interfaces, you configure a VLAN, and you also set the priority bit to be set. So that's a summary of how it can be done. But with a testing tool like Spirent, it'd be very easy.
Okay. So have you used that tool before? STC.
I not Spirent test center, but all my career was on data plane testing. So I'm an expert on Ixia, but not really on Spirent, but it's quite similar.
Okay. And are you also planning to use these tools as part of the certification brigade?
Not, I did not think about that right now. But if there is a real limitation, or unless, my initial thinking was unless we do a high scalability or performance testing, it's not really required.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Riju. That helps.
Um,
I will hopefully I can get hold of the people at Spirent and get some help, because in 5.0 they had been really very helpful, and they have been here at our facility and then helped us test various functional scenarios.
Okay.
we've also in interaction with some of the providers, specifically AT&T, they already, for some of the people we've worked with, they've already had Spirent equipment for their validation work.
Yeah.
So it would be useful probably if we're going to be using a third-party tool like that to have the configuration and like a network topology mapped out. I know Matteo talked about a lab setup and made some documentation changes for that, but it would be useful to have that documented for people to get up and running quickly on lab deployments.
Yeah, okay.
No, so yeah, if you can get a hold of Spirent, it would be great to have documentation on that.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Zach. Thanks for the input. Yeah, hopefully I will definitely try to get hold of them now. Okay. And I think Yovang has also used iPerf in ONOS testing. So we were also thinking that not just the STC to validate and generate these reports for the functional, but we thought that for quick testing, if there is an automated way of doing things, then we can reuse some of the things that what ONOS has. So Yovang, is there anything that we could reuse?
In ONOS testing and also some of the Stratum repos, we use iPerf, but it's only it's not really for performance testing. It's for like functionality. We only use very basic features of iPerf for just verifying like connectivity and some other functionalities like multicast, ECMP, something like that. But I don't think we can reuse, but it should be easy enough to just try it. We can just install it and run a single command, and we'll see how it works.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sujitra, if you want, I can just show. I think I have it running. It's just a single command. You run on the server and the client, and that's it. And then you get the number of packets received and number of packets dropped, stuff like that. It's very easy to do.
Oh, okay, sure. Then I will try it out and then I'll reach out to you guys.
Sure.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the inputs. Okay, so before I move on to a different topic, is there any other comment on the test plan? All right, sounds like no. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I think we already covered the data plane testing part as well. And then, yeah, I was also thinking of the testing in brigades. I'm not, I think I should start reaching out these brigades to see what kind of testing they have so that we don't repeat, as I was talking earlier. And if there are any automated test scenarios that the brigade team has been using, I was thinking that it will be nice if we can uh, run them and then collaborate and then put it in the same framework if possible, and try to help each other. So that's a separate topic anyway. So I'll try to reach Saurav and other team members to see how testing is going on in the brigades. But if there are any inputs on that, if anybody who is working on the brigades, yeah, please let me know. Okay. Um, I see Jill on the call. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Sushitra.
Hey,
Hey, how
Jill.
are you?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, doing good. Thank you. So, how is everything going? So, are you guys targeting anything for 2.0?
That's exactly, yeah. We've been tasked to plan this out. Yeah, Sean's after us to start looking into this. So that's the next thing that we're doing. I'm just about to kind of put some email together to see how we can, in the time frame, we can do that and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing requests from Sean, so I wasn't sure on what how North Porch is going towards that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
No
No,
problem.
no commitments yet, but yeah, we're just gonna. Yeah, there's a lot of activity here, so there's a lot of requests from my part to on other projects. So
Oh,
we'll see.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can add to that. The BB brigade that Gila has been a part of as well too. He added a couple of tests around BB and making sure that all the ONUs on a BB can get activated and authorized. He has an authorization. The authorized test case complete, and we just submitted it this morning. So we're getting some progress there. I think this will definitely help out the BB brigade. Um, so that's coming along in that brigade, and that's really good help from Jill on that part.
Yeah. The key thing is that for 2.0, we have to use BB Sim. I mean, Pond Sim is not. I mean, it hasn't been converted to OLT adapter. So open OLT, yeah, adapter. So I guess it's all there is BB Sim. So that's why I'm eager to finish off the test cases on 1.x, with BB Sim. So then it'll be easier to port them to 2.0. But I'm kind of in the middle there. I've got one left to do, but it looks like I'm going to have to provide more planning information before I complete that one.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Kailash. Thanks
Okay.
for the update.
Okay. No problem.
Okay, I think that is all we have on the topics for today. Is there anything else that anyone wants to bring up or talk about? Okay, we are good then. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time and your cooperation and efforts, collaborative efforts on this task.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye now.
Bye bye.
Bye.